Hello YouTube, how you doing on this Martin Luther King Day? And most people stay home. If you're in the New York City area, Brooklyn Academy of Music is doing something, and the Apollo is doing something later today. My son ain't feeling it, and I'm like, that's the one thing we've never done. Like, we've never went to an MLK event. We just stay home because it be cold. So we actually had a snowstorm yesterday, and we only had 1 inch in the New York City area. So see, my son, he never experienced the real, those of y'all that's millennials from New York City, we used to have real snowstorms where you can go outside your apartment complex or your house and make snow angels. My son has never made a snow angel, right? You've never. And yeah, we've never really had a real winter. Like, we have cold days here and there, but the 90s compared to now, please, these kids don't really know what a real winter is, you know. We had real winters back in the day, you know. Yeah. So and even the snow days that we've had recently, barely nothing was on the ground, you know. So but yesterday it looked crazy. Like, if you were home and looked outside, it looked really crazy. But then now the next day it's all over, you know. It's like, yeah. But today I wanted to talk about a well-known topic. I wanted to talk about 2 different things. So 10 signs you love each other a lot, but you're not meant to be. And also something that I saw on YouTube about going 50-50. So the 50-50 thing. So Taylor Swift's current boyfriend, his ex-girlfriend, was on a podcast, and she said something interesting that I wanted to talk about. She said that she doesn't believe in going 50-50. Now with that has to do with culture. That has to do, that's an American thing, right? Because in African cultures, Indian cultures, in many other cultures, the man is the head, the man is the provider. In some American households as well, the man is the provider. Going 50-50 to me is okay if both people are making the same amount of money. So, okay, Taylor Swift, to my knowledge, makes more money than Beyonce, according to the internet, right? Her boyfriend is a football player, right? He's basically in poverty compared to her. His net worth is what, $2 or $3 million a year? Another example is Rihanna is a billionaire. She's been a billionaire for about 10 years now with Fenty products, right? A$AP Rocky net worth is $1 million. Remember, your net worth, you don't take that home. That's just what you make. Just like a gross, well, your net, right? So if A$AP Rocky, his net worth is $1 million, he's taking home about $800,000. That's not a lot compared to Rihanna, who is a billionaire. So in that instance, I don't feel like it should be 50-50. She should pay all the bills. And the same thing with Taylor Swift and her boyfriend. If she's making $800 million a year, and I'm just throwing it out there, I don't know her checks or what they look like, but I know she makes more than Beyonce. If she's making $800 million a year and her boyfriend is making $2 million a year, should it be 50-50? If a man has 3 jobs, right? And I don't mean like dishwasher or something, not like, no. If a man has a career in a college, right? And this is a real life situation. He does taxes on the side. So that's another $30,000-$40,000, right? And then he does Amazon, right? He has 3 sources of income. His girlfriend, that's an assistant teacher, right? Should they go 50-50? And that's her only source of income, right? If you have a teacher, one thing I wanted to explain, in New York City and in Los Angeles, they make the most money as teachers. So the starting salary for a teacher in New York City is $64,000 a year. By the time you get to your 8th year, you are looking at at six figures in New York City, right? When you get to your 10th year, you're doing pretty well for yourself as a New York City public school teacher with your master's. This is someone with all their credentials. You don't have your credentials, then you're not going to get paid as much. But when you have your master's and your license and everything like that, your 10th year, you're looking at six figures in New York City, right? If that teacher is dating a para, right, or what they would call assistant teachers, we don't make anything, right? We really don't, right? Especially if you're a substitute. Like, I'm off today, I don't get paid today, right? They don't pay me for today. If they're dating, I don't believe it should be 50-50, because a person that's making six figures, right, and then the significant other is making $30,000 a year, no, it shouldn't be 50-50, right? So that's my opinion on that. You can comment, like, and subscribe. What do y'all feel about 50-50, and how should it work in a household or when you're dating someone? I feel like if someone's making way more than, the person could help you out when you need help, but as far as to say splitting everything down in the middle, I don't think that's right. If you make six figures and you choose to date someone that's making $30,000 a year, yeah, they should, as far as like, if it's your birthday, they could spoil you, stuff like that. But I don't think it's right to ask 50-50, male or female, right? Also, you have some men that in some households, they still pay for everything. So it all depends on you and your beliefs, right? After my last situation, I do want a provider. I do want somebody, I don't necessarily, depending on the situation, the 50-50 thing just doesn't make sense to me. You might as well like be single and not married. Again, that comes from my upbringing. My father always paid all the bills. He still pays all the bills 40 years later. My mother did get a job when I was 14 and she did not pay no bills, right? She paid nothing. My father paid all bills. He made more, and that's what happened. That's the dynamics of whatever. But comment, like, and subscribe. Do you believe in 50-50? Okay, so my next topic is 10 signs you love each other but it's not meant to be, right? And this article was so good, I chose to share it. I said, why not talk about it, you know? So the first sign is constant compromise. And I wanted to talk about this because this is something I can talk about from my own experience. Constant compromise. So everybody as human beings, men and women, they have a standard or what they're willing to do. Constant compromise. If you find yourself constantly doing what they want, but they're not doing anything you want. So let's say if you don't really like Italian food, but you're going to the Italian restaurants to please them, but they don't want to come to, you like West Indian food, but they refuse to come with you to any West Indian restaurants. Or a better one is you always come with them to sporting events, football games. You may not even like sports. Like for me, I don't like basketball. But obviously if I'm seeing someone and they say, hey Crystal, I have tickets for a basketball game, I'm gonna go because I know how to compromise. I was raised right, you know. So, but a lot of people don't like that, you know. Let's say I come with him to a basketball game, but I'm saying I want to go to see Jodeci. I've seen him in concert already, but let's just make it an example. I want to see Jodeci, and he goes, well, I don't like Jodeci, so I'm not coming with you. You need to go with one of your friends. I'm not gonna, be happy about that because I compromised, right? And I came with you to a basketball game. I don't even like basketball, but I came with you and I compromised. But now that I want to do something, you don't want to do it. And that happens a lot in friendships. It happens in relationships. If you see that you're doing everything that that person wants to do and they're not coming your way, it's you might have to drop them, you know. There's a girl, I wouldn't really consider her a close friend, but we used to work together, and she is Trinidadian, and she doesn't like anything that's American. So like we had a mutual friend. I met her friend through her. Last year was her birthday, and we went to a steakhouse, and this mutual friend did not come. And she already, like, I told her, I said, you know, she not gonna come because it's American food. She's very strict on that. Like, she does not like American food. So you know not to invite her. But she invited her anyway because she's like, it's my birthday, da-da. But she will not compromise. Like, if you invite her somewhere and it's non-West Indian, she is not coming. And if she does come, she's very miserable. We went to, shout out to 333 Lounge. If you're in the Brooklyn area, check that out. It is a bar lounge space, and they have a good DJ. He plays mixed music. So we're out for her birthday in June, and she complains to the DJ when the party's done about the music choices that he had. And it was like, wow, okay, this I'm like, it's American, but she was very upset that they played American music. She does not like American music at all. That's a person that doesn't want to compromise, and that over time it gets annoying. So, but in a relationship, that is just, it's crazy. And then, like I said, moving forward, I want a man who attends church. I don't go to church every Sunday, but I do go occasionally, like for Christmas. The season I went to Brooklyn Tabernacle. So moving forward, when I find my new partner, he has to be willing to come with me. I don't want to hear, oh, I don't feel like it, whatever. As long as you have the day off and available, and I want to go to church, you better come with me. And if that's an issue, then I'm taking it as you're a non-believer and you don't know how to compromise. And I'm going to be more strict with my standards. And like I told y'all, my standards was very low, but no more. Even with my friendships, my standards was very low. But at my big age, 35, no. Life is too short. So yes, compromising is important. And if you're in a relationship and a person doesn't want to compromise, even big things like they're around your kids, but you can't meet their kids. That's lack of compromise. Or in the past, you sent them an Uber because they're anti-train. Like a lot of people who drive and then something happens to their car, they take an Uber everywhere. And you know that you put this person in an Uber everywhere. But then when it's time for you, when you need an Uber, they don't want to put you in an Uber. Very selfish. They have a car and then they don't want to drive you to school, yet you put gas in their car. That is not the one. So I just had to elaborate on that. With the lack of compromise, y'all are not going to make it. Y'all not. If this person, one of my homegirls from my neighborhood, her parents got divorced, and I remember talking to her mother, and I was shocked that they got divorced because they seemed so happy. They seemed like the perfect couple. But the mother confided in me, and she said, I was like, why did y'all get divorced, if you don't mind me asking? She said that nigga was selfish as fuck. Like, I was like, give me an example. She said that there would be times when she would go grocery shopping. And at the time, it sounded like a small thing, but now that I'm older, I see what she mean. She said, Crystal, it would be pouring rain. And me as a woman, I'm that type of woman. If I say I'm going to cook that night, I'm going to cook. So I would go in the rain to the store, and I would call this man and say, come pick me up. And he would say, no, I'm not moving my car. And she said when it first happened, she's like, when you first get married and they do stuff like that, But after over time, the selfishness just got annoying. she was like, no, he had to go because he always thought of himself. She said, now if I'm going out buying the groceries with my money, I'm not even asking you for money. I'm going out getting the groceries with my money. I'm cooking us dinner for our family. And you can't come pick me up? That's a problem. I said, well, you couldn't call a cab? She's like, girl, why am I calling a cab and the man drive? I said, that's true. You're right. And I was in my 20s when she told me that. And it seemed like it was like so petty. But no, that's lack of compromise. That's a person that's selfish. And over time, it gets annoying. Over time, you get tired of it, you know. So that's the number one, constant compromise. Another thing to show that you're not meant to be is different life paths. So they say opposites attract. Yes, they do, but eventually that's what is going to draw you apart. So opposites. The person is atheist, you're a Baptist, or you're a believer, you're a Christian. It's not going to work. It's not, because that person, a lot of atheist people, they try to sit there and brainwash you to say that there's no God. So that right there is not going to work. Like I said, moving forward, I want a man of faith. And the reasons why my relationships, most of them didn't work out, because two cannot walk together unless they agree. And those are the facts. You know, a lot of people don't understand why. Well, I don't know why my relationship didn't last. It's because you were unequally yoked. You're praying, he's watching a football game. You're praying and meditating, he's drinking. You're going through a crisis, he turns to a cigarette. That's not going to work out. It's not. It's really not going to work out. And that's so important. I'm an open-minded person, right? So I don't mind going and doing different things. But most people are stuck in their ways. That's what I noticed. So even something like going to an opera, right? I love operas, black operas specifically. Very educational. And we as a people, we're just so talented. I saw an opera, Malcolm X opera, and it was similar to the movie. And perfect example, you know, that's another like example of compromising. But if a person goes to opera, like Martin, I had used that as I talked about them over a year ago in their relationship. They was just too opposite. You know, she's museums and art museums and operas, and he's sneakers, like homebody, play basketball on the court. And there's nothing wrong with that, but he wasn't willing to accept her. She accepted him, but as you're watching the series, he didn't really accept certain things about her. And they have an episode where he's like, a lot of the things you like are whack, so why are you with her? Like, that was just like, even though it's a TV show, it just shows you like men settle too, because even though she's a good girl, he didn't really like her. He just liked the way she looked. And yeah, because he said it, a lot of the things you like are whack. You're not even giving it a chance, like, you know. But yeah, that's different life paths, not gonna work. The silent treatment. And this is something that most of us have seen in our household growing up. But there's nothing wrong with an argument. No, there's nothing wrong with a disagreement, but an argument is toxic. You know, arguing, people say, oh, arguing is natural. Not when you're belittling each other, not when you're putting each other down and being mean and don't apologize. When you're doing that in a relationship or a friendship, what are you doing? You're basically, you know, and then you have couples that go weeks and months without speaking. That's when it's no good, because look, at that point you're forcing yourself to be with the person, and that shouldn't happen. So the silent treatment is not only immature, but it's toxic to your relationship. Another sign is you're more in love with potential than reality. I think most women are very guilty of this. Like, you see a man, he's attractive, he say one or two things that's intelligent, and you just fly off the handle. The potential is, oh, he could do this, that, and the third, and he's not, right? So, he might have been romantic on, okay, so the guy who passed away that I told y'all about, right? The first date, he was romantic, he paid for everything, right? So I was holding on to that, and I wanted to believe the lies he was telling, as far as saying he had rent to pay, he had this to pay, whatever. I'm living at home at this time, so I'm believing it because, I'm young, whatever. I didn't move out until I was 22. So him being older than me and saying, well, I have this financial obligation, I believed him. Because I'm like, who lies about having their own place and car, right? But I kind of figured he didn't have a car because everywhere we went was by train. So I was in love with his potential. I was in love. I wasn't looking at reality. I was looking at, oh, so he did this one thing for me, and this is no. And it's like at the end of the day, he was no good. He lied about things. A girl claiming to be his girlfriend hit me up, and I was just so intrigued with his potential, right? I wasn't looking at reality, and that's a lot of people, right? So don't do that. The spark has fizzled out. Yes, this is now for some women, or I should say, I would say about 85% of women of any generation, this generation, the last generation, the generation before that, a lot of women don't need to be physically attracted to their mates. They feel like as long as he protects and provides and help with the kids, that's all they care about. Me personally, I need to be attracted to you. I need to want you. I need to be in love with you. I need to be in lust with you. The fire needs to be there. But one of the signs is fizzled out. For me personally, if I don't want you around, if I don't want to kiss you, if I don't want to be around you, I can't wait till you leave, the relationship is over. Now, you have married women that feel like this, and they just, I don't know if it's fear of, like they don't want to find something new. But for me personally, I cannot live like that. I cannot be with somebody who I don't want to be around you. It fizzled out, because one thing about men, and I don't mean to sound biased or sexist, but they need a lot of attention. And when you don't give it to them, they start to resent you. It's a known fact. So when you're sitting there and you're not attracted to them, and you're not giving them attention, and you don't want to kiss them, and you don't want to be around them, they feel that. They definitely know that. And they're not going to come up to you and ask you what's wrong. They're going to hang out with their friends. They're going to shut down, or they're going to find another woman to, make them feel good. One of the three. So once you feel yourself not being attracted to your mate, you need to question, is it something with you mentally or physically? Because sometimes it could fizzle out because of work. Some people are overworked. So by the time they come home from work, they don't want to be bothered. That could be something that has nothing to do with your mate. But if you know in your heart it's just the spark ain't there, I would suggest talk about it with your mate, go to counseling, seek a therapist, because that's not normal to feel like that. Once you start to feel like that, like ew, you look at him and you just ew, nah, that's not good, because then he's gonna start to resent you.
Does it pause?
You hurt more than you heal. So this one is easy to elaborate on. You hurt more than you heal. So basically, in the movie Why Did I Get Married, with Janet Jackson, a few people was in it. Oh, Jill Scott. One thing that Janet Jackson said to her friends in a scene was, the good has to outweigh the bad. If you need to write down a list and it's like, why am I with this nigga? By all means do that. And write on the list what's good and what's bad. About if the bad outweighs the good, you need to exit left. I can't stress that enough. If you're crying more than you're being happy, you need to exit left, because love is not supposed to hurt, right? Stop listening to Summer Walker. Summer Walker got something called Summer Walker. If you don't know what love is, if you don't stay up all night, you don't know what love is if you don't put up a fight. That is not love, okay? I don't know what that is, but that's not love, okay? If you see yourself putting in more energy than the person, and you know in your heart that they don't want you, it's time to exit left. If you are yelling more than you know that you're not being heard and the person don't care, exit left. Because what's important, especially, we live in a world of insanity. Like, Trump is president. How insane is that? These jobs out here want you to have a degree and don't want to pay. What else? Rent inflation. They saying that foods is no good and they cause cancer. All of this stuff going on in the world, and you gonna be with somebody that's gonna cause you drama and stress? No, baby. Life is too crazy right now to even be with somebody that's gonna add stress to your life. As an adult, we already have the stresses of work and bills, and then you're gonna get with somebody that's gonna cause you more stress? No, absolutely not. Next. Living in the past, another sign. Now, a lot of people might say you might have to go to therapy, but you have to make this conscious decision. Now, some women, they divorce a man for cheating, not because they didn't forgive him, but they know that they could never get over the infidelity, which is very understandable. If you know that this man did this and you can't get over the past, it may be a sign to end the relationship, because you don't want to be living in paranoia. He home late. Oh, he must be cheating. Oh, he don't want to have relations. Oh, he must be cheating. No, he could probably just be tired or have a hormone imbalance or have ED. It's a million and one reasons why somebody... But because he cheated in the past, you're like, oh, he must be cheating. You're living in the past. That might be a sign to let go. You're happier alone. A perfect example is like when you're together, it's all this drama. And then when he goes away, you feel content. You feel happy. When you rather be with your friends than with this man. Right? Because he doesn't make you happy. Yeah, that's a sign. Definitely. Your gut tells you it's wrong. One thing that's never going to steer you wrong, ladies, is that women's intuition, that gut. My gut has never lied to me about a man, about a friend, about anybody. But a lot of times I do ignore it because I'm human, right? So your gut, if your gut is telling you that the relationship is over, that he's not the one, he's not. Like, so many times we know that this dude is not the one, and we try to hold on year after year, and it's like, no, you got that gut feeling that he ain't shit. He not. Like he's not. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, listen to your gut. It's hard sometimes, it really is, but you gotta listen to that gut, because your gut will never lie to you. I kid you not. Like, when it comes to anything in life, when it comes to a school, a job, your kids, your gut is telling you something, it's never going to tell you wrong. No trust. No trust. You don't trust the person. Either it's because of your gut, or they've done things, for me, I'm a horrible person to lie to. And I tell anybody that, like, the worst thing you could do to me is lie to me. Because, like, when I was in high school, you know what my nickname was? Mavis Beacon. Mavis Beacon. You know why they call me Mavis Beacon? Because I had a memory of a computer. My memory is so good, it scares me sometimes. Like, I remember the things that people say. Like, if you put me on the spot, I'm not going to remember it. But if you give me time to recollect, I could remember everything that a person says. To the point that I'm living in my own fantasy world. And I'm in love because of this one thing this nigga said in like 2005. Like, that's how my memory is. Like, oh wow, I remember when he said I look nice, and I didn't really look that nice, but he said I look nice. So like, that's how crazy my memory is, right? And then on the flip side of that, I remember the things you do too. So people who do me wrong, I remember that too. So, and when you have a great memory like that, you have trust issues because people lie. I don't know why people lie, because I'm not a person who lies. Like, the only time I ever really lied in my life was like when I was pregnant with my son and I was at work and I let people think what they wanted to, whatever, right? So, and then prior to the nonprofit, I worked at a daycare. So I didn't want them in my business. So I told them little things, like I told them I was engaged or whatever. But I said that because I didn't want them in my business. Like, I didn't know them, right? So, but as I got older, I got more comfortable with myself, and I never lied to my parents because I felt like they can't stop me, Like, I remember being 21 and my son in Jersey with his father family and getting dressed up for the club. And they would ask me, where you going? And I say, the club. Or I was in high school and I remember I had a friend who, she would lie to her grandmother and say, we went to the library. And I co-signed for her. Like, her grandmother trusted me because, I was a good girl. I was a virgin. I was a B+ student. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I was a good kid. So she had to lie to her grandmother to come chill with us. But I didn't lie to my parents. My parents would be like, oh, you need to come straight home after school. I said, why? Oh, to do homework. I don't have any homework. Like, their rules didn't make sense to me. So I broke them. So it's like when they would call me and be like, it's 6 o'clock, where you at? My friend house. Like, why I'ma lie to you? Like, and they was like, yo, you bold. I said, why am I gonna lie to my parents? You get what I'm saying? Like, I just never understood the point of lying. And you have teenagers that, even with my son, like, I don't give my son curfew. My thing is, just let me know where you are. I don't think a curfew is practical after a certain age. And that's just my opinion. Like, I would never sit there and tell my son, you need to be home at 11 o'clock. That doesn't make sense. When most parties, that's when they start. Nowadays, it's a little different. Like, parties start earlier nowadays. Like, a lot of people's, like, sweet 16s and stuff like that, I notice it's starting at like 6 o'clock and it'll be over at like 10 or 11. So times have changed. But if my son wanted to hang out all night, I'm perfectly fine with it. Just as long as you telling me where you are and you're at the place where you said you was going to be. Don't say you at your friend house, but you really somewhere else. That's my whole thing. Like, just keep it real with me. So when people lie to me, and people have lied to me about their jobs, and when I say people, I'm talking about females too. I've had female friends that have lied to me about having their own place. I've had people lie to me about that. I think that's stupid. Like, I'm not in competition with you. And not to put myself down, I feel like if you have to lie to me, you really need to get your shit together, because like I don't have much. So if you feel the need to lie to me, like, that's sad. But whatever. Yeah. So once you don't have trust in a friendship, I would say, if you don't see the person every day, whatever. Like, I have a homegirl right now. We don't talk on the phone at all. That's just her choice. I don't push it. We barely text. Like, I'll send her like a whole essay and she'll respond with one word. So obviously she don't want to text no more. That's fine. But she's lied to me about a few things, and I don't care, because that's your life. Like, why are you lying to me? Whatever. But that's the key thing in a relationship. Like, once there's no trust, once I don't trust you, it's really nothing to discuss. Like, to each their own, right? And that's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's 10. And the bonus one is unequally yoked. I can't stress this enough. So that's their 10. That's what the world says. But if you are Christian, you could be unequally yoked with another Christian. How so? You have Christians that they believe that Jesus died and was buried and all that good stuff, but they don't believe in prayer, right? Somebody could be sick. It could be them or a family member sick in a hospital, and nobody says, oh, let's pray. You're unequally yoked. And for me, that's a turnoff. Like, you going through crazy times, but you're not going to pray. You just going to worry. Like, you have to pay attention to stuff like that. Or a person who attends church every Sunday, but then y'all get to talking and they like, you know what, Crystal? I really don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe he was born of a virgin. I don't believe that he rose on the third day. You're unequally yoked. And I feel like those conversations need to be had in the dating stage. Like, when you're dating, it's basically multiple interviews and getting to know someone. And like I said, if I'm single till 45, that's perfectly fine, because the unequally yoked, the heathens and the atheists I've been with, it ain't working, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over, expecting different results. So I refuse to be insane anymore. And those are my thoughts.